Hey, so welcome back to the Tom Ferry Podcast Experience, episode 100. Brenda, Tristan, Patrick.
Yes.
Thank you for my friends out there listening or watching. By the way, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe. I don't think I've asked anybody to subscribe yet, and yet we're at like 105, 106 on the top 100, whatever list of podcasts for business. So thank you. Thank you. Do me a favor, subscribe. Let me know. In honor of episode 100, I've got my brother Patrick here. Patrick, first of all, thank you for driving up from San Diego. I'm in Orange County, which is kind of fun for me. Today we want to talk about agents who underperform their potential. What do they need to do about it? And new agents, based upon all the questions that I get, call it 30, 40% of all the questions really fall under that category. And you and I have been bantering about it. I know you have a lot to share here. So why don't you just introduce yourself for the people that haven't met you, don't know you. Who's Patrick Ferry? Why should they care?
So yes, and thank you, and thanks for being on episode 100. And,
100, baby.
And just subscribe and then hit the notification. And
yes.
By the way, I now obsessed with YouTube podcasts. So I'm watching all my podcasts on YouTube, and I'm loving it.
And speeding it up,
yes,
right? Because thank you for that little exactly faster. But if you're listening to this on slow motion, like speed it up, you can get through it much faster. Get all the content. Your brain works faster than you think.
Yeah, no, I love it. So yes, so I'm Patrick Ferry, and I've been in the industry I think 17 years. Kind of as the youngest Ferry of all these Ferries, right?
Yes.
And and I've been with Tom Ferry coaching, and as a coach, and as a speaker, and just participant, and as a client.
Yep.
My wife is a client. I think for now 8 years.
Yep.
Okay. And then I married Carly, my beautiful wife, in San Diego, and she was a real estate agent. She was a client, which I was not supposed to do that, of course.
Yes.
Right.
Breaking the rules once again.
Yes. And then I got my real estate license. So 5 years ago, I actually was an active real estate agent, but I was really part-time. So I was on Kai and Carly's team selling some homes.
Yep.
And so, in that time, I've learned a lot. And so I've created a lot of compassion around what the new agent's experience is.
Right.
And I've learned a lot on how do we help those new agents in 2020 and in 2021. And that's really what I'd like to help out with.
That's what we want to talk about today. And I want to stress, though, there are a lot of people that listen to me, and I love you all. Some of them just underperform their potential. And if I go back to I've got this, I give out my cell phone number and I got all these people texting me. And the questions basically are either, Tom, I'm doing 30, 60, 90, 100, 300. I had a guy say to me, I'm at like $3 million in GCI. How do I go to 8?
Yeah.
Right? I get that question, or I get, I'm brand new. What do I do first? I'm brand new. Should I be on a team or should I go solo? I'm brand new. How do I talk to my sphere and create a story to act? So I want to get into all those questions because I think those questions are just as relevant to the person that's underperforming their potential because they don't have a story.
Yep.
Right? They don't know how to call their sphere and deliver value and be of service. They're like trying to sell them a house or trying to figure out a referral, and that's kind of the wrong approach. We want to address all of that. So if you're one of my Rockstar agents, you can either turn this off or you can listen and enjoy because Pat's wildly entertaining and I think I do a pretty good job and there'll be a bunch of nuggets. But if you are newer to the industry or you've underperformed your potential, buckle up and listen because we've got 8 or 9 subjects we want to cover.
100%. Yeah.
So let's go right to the first one. Starting a business is hard. And most people don't understand that. Most people get into real estate. It's a second, third, fourth, career move. You were mature at 40 going into the business.
Yeah.
That's a pretty typical experience for people. They hallucinate what the business is. There's 7 million options of things they think they need to know. Where should they work? How does one sort through all that and actually start selling houses? Big question.
Huge question. And so, you said some very important things, in the last couple of years in your podcast, in your training, and that is identify a problem that you see in the marketplace.
Right.
And then figure out how to provide the solution to that problem.
Yes.
And figure out how to do that in real estate. And I think if that's the one thing, this is where I think, historically.
Say it again, though, because I don't think people like every business is basically formed with this hypothesis.
Yes.
I sense a problem. I think I can do it better. It's only a hypothesis. Now, can I take that out to market and test it and get a response and then start to scale it and then turn it into something that is repeatable and scalable if I truly want to have a great business?
Yes.
But most people don't do that. They go into real estate because they like houses and people,
Yeah.
or they lost a career and housing looks easy and I can make a bunch of money. Look at those commissions. Look at those guys, $1 million listing.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. This is not an easy business. I wish more brokers would say, hey, buckle up. This is going to be the hardest year of your life.
Right.
You're going to have to spend more time studying and researching and learning new stuff.
Yep.
You're going to get more rejection you've ever gotten before. But if you do figure out how to solve problems, if you do figure out how to teach people how real estate is one of the most amazing assets in the world, and you help them to make great decisions with buying and selling and moving their family along. If you figure out how to do that, this is going to be one of the most amazing businesses financially for you and can create extraordinary lifestyle. But buckle up because this is going to be really hard.
Right. You know, all the studies show that the first 90 days of any new job. So I'm looking at like, you know, Brenda and Tristan have been with me for a long time. But like, remember the first 90 days you're here, you're like different, right? Because today now we're all displaced and, you know, working from home. But like when you're at the office, you're like, who is the person I'm sitting next to? What is this all about? I kind of know what my job is. They've given me all these new recs. I got to learn all this stuff. Imagine that. But there is nobody telling you what to do. There's no one telling you what to do. Welcome to real estate. Here's your desk. Here's your phone. Good luck, kid. You're on your own. That's real estate.
Yeah.
Let's go specifically to the reason why most people fail. They don't attract clients.
100%.
Like that's it. If you attract clients, like you're going to be fine. Why, in your opinion, do most agents that are newer, underperforming, not attract the right number of clients? And then what should they do to simplify it and really hone in to get good?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it boils down to the choice of the lead generation source that they're going to go after.
Okay.
And that's a hard choice, right? So, you know, we've got so many different options today. You know, we don't have open houses in most states, but it was probably one of the best options for a new agent. Get face to face with the buyer. But if you tried that out and you screwed around, it wouldn't really work. You had to really be all in on it.
Yep.
Now, that's the buy side equation. There are some people who are really good on the buy side equation. So you've got open house, you've got internet leads, you've got Zillow, you've got realtor.com, you've got quite a few referral sources right now.
Right.
But
you got your sphere where it should be a little bit easier if you have a good story, right? So you got lots of options on the buy side.
Yes. But I think, you know, the reality is to be really good with the buy side, it's not just set people up on a saved search, have a quick conversation, and then, you know, then hope that they'll call you to show you to show a property,
to see a
and
house.
then hope it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
And so to go back to your main point, which is what is the value of the service that we can offer the buyer?
Yeah.
How could we make it a better experience for them? How could we help them navigate the decisions in today's market? How can we help them to understand what financing is and how it works? How can we help them understand what their options are today? And I think where the new agent really struggles is they're trying to learn so much stuff that they actually kind of get lost in the minutia versus, hey, what is the most impactful things that I could share today with today's buyer, the people that I'm going to meet at the open house, the people I'm going to talk to today on, you know, from the internet lead, and how can I make it a better experience for them from what I'm learning and the resources and tools that I have within my organization. And I think if you slow down for a second and you just focused on how do I make it a better experience for them, the buyer, and use the tools and resources I have to level up the perceived value and make them have a great experience and get a win, then you will win. And that's hard to do.
Hold on,
but easy to say.
Right. Really? Okay. So if you're listening right now, as you're listening right now, sitting down with a friend of mine recently, and I'm not going to say his name. You would all know him. Wildly successful, but in a very different industry, and a lot of controversy surrounds this guy. So I'll just leave it at that. He said to me, "What's your like secret sauce? What's your magic formula?" And I said, "You know, I'm a good synthesizer."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I agree." So for my friend watching right now or listening, Patrick's saying all this stuff, and what's going through my mind is the agent doesn't even know, like they haven't bought, like a new agent hasn't bought enough houses to know how horrible the experience is, to know the uncertainty that a consumer has, right? I presented an offer. Why has no one responded? What is this request for this? And what is this? And what do you mean? And then, oh, my mortgage person's now delayed and everything, right? And it's so stressful. But they don't know that because they haven't done it enough or they haven't done it in a long time.
Yep.
Or maybe their model of it is 10 years ago, the last time they bought a house.
Exactly.
And they don't know today's realities. The thing that I would tell you, my secret sauce has always been asking a lot of people for their opinion. So what if you went on your Facebook page just randomly and said, you all know that I'm selling houses. I'm curious. Can you share with me the biggest horror story you ever had in buying a house? And then get all of your friends to tell you their horror stories. Then come back later and say, what did you dislike most about shopping for a home, negotiating for a home, writing an offer, buying a house, moving in, closing it, finding out 18 months later that you made a mistake with your request for repairs and should have gotten this. Like, and you literally have them tell you all of the horror stories. And then now what do you have now? Like, if you had all that information from your sphere, what do you have now?
You've got all the problems and you've got a great opportunity to help people and provide significant value.
Right.
Now, I will just one point to this, and I think for the newer agents out there, or even maybe some of the struggling underperforming agent, this is, I think, the value of a team. So one thing I would say about the value of a team, I joined a team, right?
Yes.
I joined my wife and my father-in-law.
Yeah.
And what that gave me was an opportunity to be involved in a lot of transactions.
To see it firsthand.
Yes, where I got to experience it,
Yep.
right? So I went on a lot of showings. I heard a lot of stories about negotiations, about what was going on.
Yeah.
I went on a lot of listing appointments and sat there and watched what was going on and saw as what they were saying, was that working, was that not working? So I think after a while, after I'd been in enough scenarios, I'd been in enough houses, I've sat in enough open houses, my confidence rose. But I was like, this is stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. We can make this way better and we can make it better for them.
Yep.
And I think they really need, the value of a team, where I think a lot of newer agents are undervaluing that opportunity.
Yeah.
That there's amazing teams and there's amazing mentors that they can literally just go shadow and be with for the next year, learn everything that you need to learn for the next year, and then earn some good money in the process, and then go kick butt for the rest of your career.
Okay, so we're going to definitely talk about what we refer to as the decision here in the notes, but I'm going to drive back to the very beginning of this when we said the number one reason why people fail is either they try too many lead sources and they never go deep, or they never really work towards mastering one.
Yes.
And so I want to share just a little insight, and then I want to get your opinion on it. So I get asked this question all the time on Instagram or text or where, how do I get my first listing? Like I get that 100 times a month. How do I get my first listing?
Yeah.
And I say, look, you basically got to make a choice, because it's not your first listing. It's how do I get you 100 listings over the next 2 or 3 years is what you're really asking, right? It's like, give me a path of certainty to get more listings, because that solves a major problem and makes everybody successful, et cetera. So I say, you're going to basically make a choice. You're either going to learn why people that don't like you, or why people that have listed in the past and had a bad experience are upset by everybody now calling and saying, I can do it better, AKA survey for sale by owners and survey expired listings. And when I say survey, I don't mean call them and say, I'd like to come list your house as a brand new agent. I mean, you take the time to call them for 60 to 90 days as a separate project for only one reason. What you said earlier, the advantage you had being on a team is you were surrounded by people that were doing deals, that were going on showings, that were going on listing appointments, but a brand new agent doesn't have that.
Nope.
If they're on their own, they don't have that. So how do you get that? You get experience by calling and saying, Mr. Ferry, I saw that you're trying to sell your home on your own. I'm just curious, as an agent in town, I have no intention of asking you for your listing. I would just like to ask you a few questions so I understand kind of where you're at and what you're thinking about.
Yep.
Tell me, what was the number one reason why you didn't list with a real estate agent?
Yeah. Save the commission, do it myself, whatever it is.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm assuming you've sold homes in the past. So that would be it. And that's a totally lame example. I'd ask 10 better questions. But the point is you're calling them to the better one is expireds. Hi, ring. Hi, Mr. Ferry, this is something that I'm doing a survey of people that tried to sell and it didn't work out. And I'm curious, would you answer just 3 questions for me? Number one, what was the number one expectation you had of the agent, and where did they potentially fail you?
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And then you take all that data, and I think of the number of new agents that I've given this project to, and they've gone out and executed, and they only needed to do it with 8 or 10 people before they realized sellers that had an expectation that was unmet were dissatisfied in these 3 categories. And then people that tried to sell for sale by owner did it because they're just straight up a DIYer. There's just that percentage, or they had a really bad experience with an agent in the past and said to themselves, I can do this with today's modern technology, blah, 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 even though we know numbers are very small that actually do. But once they have that, they have a story.
Yes.
Right now, when you're on the soccer field and your friend's like, hey, How's it going in real estate? You're like, I just surveyed like 55 people that tried to sell and they didn't sell. Can you believe that? In this market, they didn't sell. And the interesting thing was I discovered there was basically 3 reasons why they were dissatisfied and it didn't work out. And then you just look away. And what's your friend going to do?
Yeah.
Well, what are the 3 things? So I tell people, like, if you take that path, you can learn those experiences and you can create a story versus the other path, which is you just call your sphere, right? And it is a slower road to China. You with me? Mm-hmm. This makes you very mature very quickly. This puts you basically up against Zillow, Open Door, every experienced agent in town. You're not the only person they know with a real estate license. This gives you some depth. Mm-hmm. This is very slow. Thoughts or opinions?
Yeah, no, I love the example of the FSBO and expired. That's 100% accurate because the for sale by owner thinks that they can do it on their own. So when you really look at what they do, how they're doing it, how they're approaching it, how they're pricing it, and you do follow the listing over the course of the next 90 days and continue to talk to them, you'll hear everything that they're experiencing and you'll realize that they actually don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And you'll hear some horror stories along the way.
Of course.
I just literally got another email from a FSBO I went on 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he still has not sold, and he's been trying nonstop. Mm-hmm. The hottest market in San Diego. It's a slam dunk condo.
30 years,
And he still can't figure out how to sell his condo by himself.
Yeah.
He tried Rex. He's tried flat fees. He's tried, and that's the thing though, is when I watch that and observe that, I realize all of the mistakes that he's making in the process.
Yep.
And I realize, and it validates all of the things that I've learned about what works and why it works. And that's really important.
Yeah.
Same thing with the expireds is you really get a sense of, okay, what were the mistakes? And that gives you a ton of confidence, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to do it different direction. If you haven't read NAR's recent report on home buyers, home sellers, that report, and then Zillow's report on experiences home buyers and sellers are having, and yes, both of them clearly are trying to paint a narrative, right? Like Zillow's trying to say, you should go iBuyer because, blah, 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 blah. And AR is obviously saying agents should be better and the experience matters. But at the end of the day, as a brand new agent, by learning that insight, that data, those data points, you really get a sense of like, this is what buyers think. This is what sellers think. These are the problems. How can I solve them in any way, let alone a unique way? And if you do that, you have a competitive edge. Because here's the thing, like there's like 10 million agents around the world. And there'll be like, 40 or 50,000 that'll listen to this. That's a pretty small percentage. Yeah. You with me? And there's a lot of other good agents out there that have figured this out. But I would argue that the vast majority of agents don't come from the standpoint of the consumer has a problem. They're having a horrible experience. How do I make it better? So by you doing this, you're leapfrogging the competition into a level of better success, more reliable success, more consistent success.
Let me give one very specific example of this, which is very recent. One of my new coaching clients, 24 years old, in Austin, Texas, graduated from UT, and he was really obsessed with real estate investing. Shout out to Andres Bustamante.
Yes.
Okay. And he's super into real estate investing, but when I got him, he was calling the FSBOs and expireds. He was in the hustle. And I said, look, man.
Trying to find listings. Yep.
And he was telling me the story about how he wants to help these college students kind of get their first home, kind of house hacking, maybe talk to the parents to get them to start thinking real estate investing.
Yeah.
So he had this vision of this, a problem that he wanted to solve. And I was like, look, you got to do it. You got to buy one and you need to do your house hacking strategy. He did it. So he buys the house, rents out the other rooms. He's living for free. And I said, listen, you need to post this on Instagram and you need to write out the numbers. This is exactly how this worked. Yep. Boom, 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 boom.
Hashtag share with your parents.
So within 1 week, 4 appointments, couple buddies said, hey man, we want to buy a 4-plex. We want to do what you did. We want to buy it over here. Puts the 4-plex under contract. Then I said, do the post exactly again. Tell the number of the story and just write it out in the post. Boom. Fast forward 6 months. He has 13 in escrow right now.
Yes.
And it's because he found that there's the solution.
He found a problem and solved it.
Exactly.
He found a problem and he solved it. Am I
100%? That's exactly why I bring that up, right? And it's an amazing solution. So that to me is a great example.
So let's stop for a second really fast. First of all, it's a killer example. This is what happens when your little brother, you just like rudely just cut him off and he knows I love him. He's mean to me all the time. Just saying. No, I'm playing. Stop right now and make up a list and ask yourself, what are all the problems that a buyer faces?
Yes.
Right? Is it easy to find a house?
No.
Is it easy to find a great agent that can negotiate on your behalf?
Nope.
Is it easy to write an offer that gets accepted?
Nope.
Is it easy to get financing?
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Is it easy to get the best rates and points and financing vehicle?
No, do a great
I mean,
job.
if you just go to one person and you so the point is, if you started making up that list, is it easy to only look at homes online? Is it easy to buy a home during a pandemic? Is it easy to buy in a lightning hot market? Is it easy to buy if you're in a super luxury market and there's lots of inventory? The point is, if you start listing out all the problems and then you say to yourself, okay, what's the obvious way that I can solve this? That is good for the client, right? That does good, that is good, and could be like replicated time and time again before I even say what's a unique way to do it. Like the case in point of like right now we have an inventory crisis in almost every major marketplace that we're talking to people, like literally every single one of them. And yet inventory is an issue, and how many agents that are new know to write a magic buyer letter? Yeah. Know how to use their buyer as a way to generate listings. You with me on this? So what are your thoughts on that? Making up a list of all the problems and attacking it. Should they attack all of them? Should they attack one of them? Should they narrow in like your client and just do one thing and nail it? How do you know if it's the right thing?
That list was perfect. That's exactly what they need to do. I've asked 2 coaching clients this week. I said, hey, how do you if I was your perfect buyer client, what do you do for me? And both of them were kind of the same response. Well, I'd have a phone conversation with you and I'd set you up on a search and then you'd call me when you want to see a property. And I'm like, that's it? Like, that's all we're going to do?
That's the experience.
Right? Like, and so that, but like, not that they were bad.
No.
But then I was like, okay, one of them is working on some new construction. I'm like, so how many new construction are there in your area? Oh, well, there's like 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so could you offer a consultation and said, hey, why don't you come in? I'm going to sit you down. I'm going to put up on my computer screen all 10 of the websites of each one of those things. I'm going to put Google Maps up, and then I'm going to put my MLS up. Come in and let's just review all 10 of those projects. Let's talk about the pros and cons of each one. Let's talk
about the areas of each one of those. Has anyone taken the time to show you?
Has anyone taken the time?
Yes.
But see, and then as soon as I said that to her, she was like, oh my God, that would be awesome.
Right.
And I was like, exactly. That's where you become the advisor, you become the consultant,
valuable.
You're adding value, because normally that's just, well, we'll just go drive, let's go look at them.
Yep.
Well, that's 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of wasted time where really you could have spent 30 minutes and solved, you would have eliminated 5 of the projects, you would have narrowed down the top 2, and then you could have contrasted those new construction versus the resale at the price point, and they would have been like, thank you so much.
Yes.
And that would have taken 45 minutes to an hour. It would have saved all of us, tons of hours in the car, and you would have closed the deal.
Yeah. You
would have had a loyal client. It solves the problem. But I think when you wrote that list, like that's exactly what it takes.
Yeah.
And then, let's be honest, the off-market opportunity in 2021 is going to be one of the best opportunities that exist in the marketplace.
And what everyone knows that there are regulations around this, and companies have stayed compliant by creating their own in-house versions of it. Like, just for those of you out there that are watching that are like, but wait a minute, I thought, like, we all understand the rules. Be compliant with the rules.
Let's create 2 simple things.
Yeah.
I wrote an offer on a property in a neighborhood, and my offer doesn't get accepted.
Yeah.
So therefore, as an agent, I could just go sit back on the couch and drink another glass of wine, or I could do 2 things. Number one, I could call any of my friends, family, anyone that I know that lives in that zip code in that area and say, hey, I've got this amazing family. I should introduce you. Let's have a beer, come over and meet them, because they're going to move into your area. I showed that property, wrote an offer in your neighborhood. Do you know any of your friends, neighbors that have any consideration of selling? Because I'm going the extra mile for my client.
Yeah.
And it's a sad story that they wrote an offer and it didn't get accepted.
Yep.
So where's that happening?
I agree.
And then number 2 is, we can go back to all the expired, canceled, withdrawn over the last 5 years. You could call the agent who listed it and say, hey, by the way, right? You could look up any of the for rents in the MLS. There's for rents, on Zillow there's for rents.
Yep.
You can write a letter to the owner. You can call the owner,
Yep.
and you could say, "Hey, my buyer wrote the thing. Are you guys thinking about selling? Market's on fire. What do you think?"
Yep.
Okay. Then
Hand address, hand stamped,
then
magic buyer letter.
The letter,
Yep.
I think in
Yep.
2021, the letter of my client wrote an offer on your neighbor's house
Yep.
is going to get the best response.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be the most amazing response.
Hand address, hand stamped, non-branded, can't speak real estate, can't look real estate, because then it's just a marketing solicitation. But if it actually says, I'm representing the Smiths, they wrote an offer on 1234 Banana Street. I'm sure you heard there was 6 offers on that property. Tragically, they didn't get it. They desperately want to be in your neighborhood. ...
It works.
Right? But you got to do it at scale. You
Yeah.
got to send it to like 100.
Well,
right?
not
to 2.
We did, Carly did the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
The letter was very clear. Picture of the buyers. They love, it's Channel Islands. They loved it. We did 80 homes,
Yeah.
4 phone calls.
Yeah.
So when it's real,
Yes.
it works. It doesn't need to be
are
at
you-
300.
Are you implying that agents might be sending
but
non-real?
yeah. Well, that's the thing. So
I know what you mean.
I was talking to a seller.
Real when it's a family photo.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have permission to send that. To be,
So
be
if
mindful.
any of you guys have gone on enough listing appointments, you all know that the seller's like, well, there's been many people that said that they had a buyer.
Yeah.
So that narrative is already in the mind of the sellers right
Yes,
now.
yes.
So we need to level up that story and kind of take it to the next level. Now, I will tell you another thing. Yeah. And the other thing too is I think the kind of the just listed, just sold, talking to the neighbors
Yep.
about the listing through the journey of, hey, there was 5 offers, there's 3 other buyers right now. I think that's going to be a huge opportunity in 2021.
We got to pull up the old letter from my client in Dallas, and I'm so sorry. Cody Longmire. God, I got a memory for this stuff. Cody's letter was, it happened again, right? Like something like that, the headline. And it literally said, 1234 Banana Street, sold in 48 hours, had 16 offers, had 7,000 views, had had 127 people through the property.
Yeah.
And guess what? You have a new neighbor. They're really excited, but 128 people are crying in their soup because they desperately want to live in Irvine Terrace or whatever the neighborhood
Yes.
was. And then he's like, I'm sitting on 127 people that are ready to go right now. If you've had any thought, like that was the letter. And he
Killed it.
He killed it. Like that's in the Tom Ferry archives someplace because that's an early 2010 yikes letter I just
remember
pulled
that
out there. You
one.
know what I'm talking about?
I remember.
So go deeper with the data.
And also go talk to the neighbors,
Right.
right? I think the
Right.
just listed, just sold, phone calls are going to kill it.
Yep. Yep.
And it may be that you do it at the beginning. There might be 3 different touches, right? I've been telling all my coaching clients, look, you have 60 days to communicate with the neighborhood between we got the listing signed to on the market to under contract
Yep.
to the escrow process to close. You got 60 days. You can't tell me that you can't go find another listing within 60 days within that community. You're going to be in and out of that neighborhood 5-10 times over the
Right.
60 days.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to circle this back around
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I feel like we might be getting a little advanced. So, and I'm not saying advanced like a bad thing. Like hopefully we're giving you a future that you can live into. I want to go back to I'm a brand new agent, and you know what? All this sounds great, but I don't know what the problems are, and I'm in my head, and I think all I need is just like a boost of confidence.
Yes.
A reason to call. You with me? Like a reason to call my sphere. What advice do you have around just framing a story of why I got into real estate? You with me on this? Let's just go there because this is just like every veteran agent needs this.
Yes.
Every agent, when they switch companies, this is what they need.
Yes, 100%.
So-
and you nailed it. It's the story. So why did you get into real estate? So when you get into real estate and you're out socially, you're talking, you're at the, you're talking to your friends, you're talking to your family, and
You're on Zoom hangouts, having a glass of wine, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
I
Yep.
think you have to tell a story, but the story has to have, it's basically PR.
Right.
You've got to actually have some really important insights in there that say, this is why I'm doing this. And it's got to be better than like, oh, I really like houses and I want to give it a shot.
I want to help my friends.
Yeah, no, it's got to be something interesting. So I did like an interview just the other day, and one of the young guys, very successful he said, look, I bought a house with my cousin. And he's exactly that. He said, I bought a house with my cousin, and I was like, man, she made all that money and she barely did anything. I know I could have done a better job with that. That was what he just said to me. Now, he didn't curate that story.
No.
But like, I know for me, I had to curate my story.
But I would argue that story is probably not enough to have a consumer go, oh, so now you're going to not do a lot and make a lot of money? But I know what you're saying.
Yes.
Like it's
okay. That's the start of it.
Okay, think about this. Like if you wrote down everyone listening right now, if you just wrote down like, why did I really get into this business? And you focus on the problem that you identified, right? Now, whether that was the actual reason or not, sink your teeth into saying to friends, well, I lost my job, so I thought I'd go sell some houses because the commissions are big.
Yeah.
Versus, I was talking with like 5 of my friends and I was sorting through like what would be the optimal thing for me to do. And you know me, I'm a problem solver. That's what I've done my entire life. And I asked them all, what was the experience like buying a house? And the horror stories that they posted on my Facebook page. And you know what it did, Patrick? It cemented for me that there is a place for a problem solver who is really client-centric, who cares passionately about people, but is ruthless at solving the problem and taking care of my people. So real estate became a no-brainer for me. I'm just pulling that out of my ass. But you with me? But like something, because otherwise, like when they leave and they go, why is Patrick selling houses? Well, he got fired and he wants to make money.
Yeah.
Versus, Pat was always a problem solver.
Yeah.
And now he's solving problems. Like, it's something, right?
Yeah. And I think that's where I think a majority of the newer agents have a struggle talking to their spheres because they actually have not connected with why they're doing this, how they want to help people. And now
it's a benefit to the client, not to you. Yes.
And I would say, really, real estate as an asset class is amazing. Yep. This is one of the most incredible asset classes, right? Yep. And I will venture to say, and I'd love your correction on this whole concept of find your dream home is a bunch of BS. Mm-hmm. It's not about a dream. I'm on my 4th home. Still not my dream home. Yeah. But it is about really improving the quality of my lifestyle and helping me to achieve kind of what my family goals are, what my life goals are. Mm-hmm. It's really about those kind of personal goals and lifestyle qualities that people want. So when you're having a conversation with your friend, when we're talking about real estate, we're talking about schools, we're talking about proximity to the beach, we're talking about, 2-story, we're talking about the
lifestyle,
garden that you want.
second home office, whatever it may be. Yes.
It's all these lifestyle qualities. Yes. And so it's really about helping people to find that next property that improves the quality of their life. Yeah. That's interesting to me. And I love to have that conversation with people.
So what I love about that is on one hand, you could say, here's the problem. On the other side, it's the opportunity.
Yes.
Now, you and I both know more people are influenced by the pain than they are by the pleasure, but having both. So maybe today you need to write down, everybody, what's the problem you solve, and then what's the opportunity that you provide? Like, and what do you do? Like, I'm just shocked by how many people, like, Patrick, do you know anybody that's like living in the same house they've lived in for like 15 years?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Do you know that if you bought a home 15 years ago anywhere in the world, the value went from X to 3X? And what they're doing is they're sitting on all this equity. Remember Christina Martinez? Remember my client a million years ago? Yeah. So Christina, big shout out to you if you're listening, or anybody on your team. Like she's got to be, like, I haven't talked to her in a while. Like she's got to be retired. She was done a long time ago. Christina said to me one day, I figured it out, coach. I said, what's that? She says, I'm not looking for motivated people. I was like, tell me more. She goes, yes, everyone else is searching for people that are motivated to buy and sell right now. There just isn't enough of them. I'm just looking for people with equity in their house that would like to retire one day. I go, yeah, tell me more about that. And here's what she did. Her whole motto was, you have your home, you've been in it for 15 years, you've got this much in equity, you're sitting on money that isn't being activated. Mm-hmm. If we go buy you a new construction house, it's going to get greater appreciation with a piece of that equity, and let's go buy you a duplex.
Yeah.
And that led to sort of the coup de grace of our coaching relationship, which she was doing seminars for 200, 300, 400 people at a time, teaching this to people that are sitting on equity that then raced back to the back of the room to schedule an appointment to figure out how they could buy a new construction house that would get more appreciation, buy duplex, triplex, fourplex, et cetera, and create a fortune.
All day long.
Right? So that ambition side, asset class, right? Mm-hmm. And lifestyle.
Yeah.
But do you think it all comes down to what resonates for the individual listening?
Yes.
Because you resonate with all that.
Yeah, but let's touch that thing for one more second, mm-hmm. which is the second thing that I notice is real estate is an investment. and it can build long-term wealth. So if we're not talking about that, if that's not part of our conversation of, hey, Tom, is this a short-term, purchase, or what's your long-term real estate goals? Do you or any of your family members, are they investing in real estate? Do you have any aspirations of investing in real estate? Why aren't we asking all of our friends this question?
Is this your first house or is this your last house?
Yeah. Or you're talking to the parents, what percentage of your retirement is in real estate?
Yeah.
And have you ever had any aspirations to have real estate a part of your retirement?
Yep.
And tell me a little bit about what your experience is with that, what you know, what you don't.
Yeah.
And I would love to be able to go out and see if I can find you a couple opportunities, because everybody's interested in that.
Okay, can a brand new agent ask those questions?
They can, 100%. But they got to do, and let's just go, one of the main points that we talked about is, my new agents, if you're not spending 2 hours a day studying, researching, learning how to understand real estate asset class, sales, marketing, training, you're not even really in the
finance,
game.
Mortgages.
Yes. 2 hours a day, minimum standard.
Yeah.
I was asking one of my clients today, I was like, how much time are you spending in learning new content? Oh, well, maybe about 15 minutes. And he was wondering why he's in a slump.
Yeah, he's wondering why he's stale. Exactly.
Come on, give me a break.
How much time do you think you commit to
I'm at
learning
least,
new?
I'm at least probably like 2.5 hours at 1.75 times the speed.
Yeah.
I'm
at like 90 minutes, and that doesn't include reading. That's just like listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, trying to get informed, TED Talks here and there, other podcasts, like just trying to suck in enough information, right? And then reading. You got to put reading on top of that, because you got to read all the email news. You got to read Housing Wire. You got to know what's going on with KCM. You got to read the Wall Street Journal. You have to understand what's going on in the world, or you can't talk to people.
No, exactly.
Okay.
Confidence builder, by the way.
Big time.
Confidence builder.
Big time.
And I think, what was one of the points that you had on there? I think it's, I'll leave it at that. It's a confidence builder.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to, how does a new or underperforming rockstar to be who really wants to kill it, how do they leverage their company's resources and all the players?
Yeah. Big mistake that I made, which was I didn't create a good relationship with the broker.
Right.
The legal counsel. Who was
broker of record.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And it was only until I got in trouble did I realize how amazing he was. And then I also didn't.
Are you going to tell us the story of how you got in trouble?
Absolutely not. And I also didn't take advantage of
somebody needs to Google if Patrick Ferry was ever arrested for anything real estate related in San Diego. I'm kidding.
It was a mistake on a for sale by owner listing that I took. I made a mistake in the MLS. I thought I solved it, and I didn't do it the right way.
Yeah.
And the reason, if I would have had a better relationship, with the transaction coordinator in the office, she would have helped me.
Yeah.
If I would have called my broker and said, hey, here's what happened. I want to make sure that I did this right and went all the way.
Yeah.
If I would have had that better relationship, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And so that is, if I would have gone and actually, instead of avoiding the loan officers in the company, went and interviewed all of them and figure out everything they had to share. Go talk to the title rep and learn about title and understand title. Go talk to the escrow company, take them to lunch, and figure out really what the escrow process is, what are the mistakes, what are all the things. Go interview all of the players inside of the organization and make them a part of your team so that you can have the confidence to go out and put transactions together.
But Patrick,
safe.
They won't talk to me. They're all too busy.
No, that's not. That's not how this goes. They want to talk to you.
Yes.
And they would love to give you attention.
They want to share what their wisdom is. They want to share their insights, right?
Yes.
They want you to win because no one needs another knucklehead.
No, exactly. Exactly. So I think that, really is a huge lesson that I made that mistake.
So
and that
get
was
to know
very costly.
Yeah, get to know the players, ask a lot of questions. How do they tap in? Like, what was the number one question we had for like 10 straight years? What CRM should I use? And my answer was the one your broker provides you for free.
Totally.
Like, that's the one you should use, because CRM, asking me that is like, what car should you drive?
Right.
I don't know. What car do you like? There's 8 million of them. Same thing with CRMs. But if all else fails, go with the free one. Go with the one that's already in your tech fee.
Yep.
So are you talking about that, or are you talking about something else when you say resources?
Let's talk CRM for 2 seconds, but yes, resources. But like really this, I would say the leaders who are experts in each of the disciplines of real estate, between escrow, title, mortgage, the broker, whoever runs the contracts, whoever really make friends with everybody. Even if you're not making friends with everybody in the organization, that's a major mistake. I am now buddies with all of them. And I call them all, and they answer my phone call because I have asked them a lot of great questions. I praise them and appreciate what they do and how they do it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, but on the resources thing, let's just talk CRM for 2 seconds. New agents, if you have not gone through your entire phone and you haven't said, do they own a home? Are they renting? And you haven't made and put a tag or a label, own a home or renting. In San Diego, I was like, do they live in San Diego? Do they know me? Are they my sphere of influence? Sphere of influence, right? You just need to go through your phone and just make a decision. Now, if I go talk to the lender and the lender says, oh my gosh, right? Ruby was telling me she got 2.5% interest rate on a property. Right? The first thing in my mind was like, that is unbelievable. I should go call, text, email, do a social post and try and reach everybody that is interested in buying and go, 2.5% is available right now. This is the best I've ever seen. If you don't understand what that means, let's talk. If you know what it means and you want to get in the game,
let's
call
talk.
Me, right? And so I feel like there's just look at your phone, right? And
so I love the key distinction. Go through your entire phone. And I think it's just like, it just says Patrick Ferry, owner. Tom Ferry, renter, right? As an example. So every time you're talking to any one of your friends or texting with anybody inside your sphere, you're like, he's a renter, she's a renter. How am I going to help that person?
100%.
Right? So that's a great, simple distinction.
It's so easy. Right?
Okay.
Let's go to the framework.
Framework. This is key. So for my friends that are listening, I know he and I get excited when we start talking about like 57,000 things, and then we have to like tone it back down and just go, okay, listen, we understand where you're at. We want to help you. You're listening. We love you. Now you ready? Most people fail because they don't understand marketing and lead generation. And you are about to get, I would argue, one of the best frameworks I've heard for the tactics behind being successful before you actually say open houses are a good idea or Zillow's a good idea or any lead source is a good idea, because there's a framework for what you need to understand to be effective for that client class, if you will, that segment of the market. So describe the framework, give them the story, and let's educate them.
So the backstory, very simple, is I was working with a ton of agents, brand new to the best in the world, and they were making calls, and I saw I saw a bunch of different mindsets. I saw the good, the bad mindset.
You're talking about you ran a prospecting camp where people would pay and show up for 2 days and make phone calls, and Patrick would just walk around and split in and listen to both sides of the conversation and then give them coaching.
100%.
And the typical person would set how many appointments in a 1 or 2 day experience?
Well, in the beginning, it was not good. Only the good ones set appointments. But once I learned how to get this done, everybody set on average 4 appointments, whether or not they're brand new. And then the good ones would be at like 10 appointments within 2 days.
Because of the framework. So for context, setting 4 to 6 appointments in 2 days as a brand new agent is
game changer,
life changing. It's because you realize, OMG, I can do this for the rest of my life now because I've got the framework. So we built it up. They understand it. They get the context. And how many of those schools did you run? Just like
probably, I don't know. I ran like 3 a month, and I probably had like 5,000 agents over those years.
So decent case study.
And I basically, I think between me and them, we probably set 10,000 appointments. Easy. So let's take Just Listed, Just Sold as a case study as an example, right? So here's what I learned. Number one is agents, you got to look at, when I say, hey, you should talk to the neighbors of the listing. One thing happened, right, is I'd see the agent would have these kind of negative thoughts, hesitation, and resistance. So I was like, wait a minute, well, what's going on in your head about this? And they would inevitably say, well, I don't think that the neighbors would want to talk to me. No one really cares. They're going to think I'm a salesperson. So there's all this is preconceived negative going on in your head. That doesn't, we got to clear that out. So then I'd say, all right, well, let's talk about what the actual value of the service that you're offering. How could you help them? And so right now in 2021, if you're talking to the neighbor, we're sharing the best news that's ever happened.
Congratulations. Your home just went up by.
Is way up.
Yep.
And so actually the neighbors are really very interested in what that property was listed for versus what it sold for.
Yep.
So that's actually the real truth. And so we had to get them away from the negativity and get them into the psychology of the homeowner and what the real value was. Now, there's a second part to that, which is the right person is actually going to appreciate this conversation. Mm-hmm. The motivated, interested seller wants to know this. So
the motivated, interested research phase seller.
Yes, they want to know this. So you got to understand, I've seen a lot of this big mistake where we optimize our script for the wrong client, not the ideal client. So
say that again.
We optimize our script for the jerk. Yeah. Well, they don't want to talk to me. And so we like get to the point with them, or we're really short and we're like, oh, that
give
didn't
the
work.
information, hang up.
Yeah, no. Optimize your script for the ideal client. The ideal client absolutely wants to know what it was listed for.
Yeah.
They absolutely want to know what it sold for. They absolutely want to know how many offers it got and what happened. So when you deliver that, there's actually great value in that. And as the local expert, and this is what I would do to the agent, I'd say, look, no one knows this neighborhood, this market better than you at this moment in time. Yeah. You understand the buyer demand. You understand the value. You've just spent the last couple of months studying the comps. So no one knows this better than you right now. So you are the absolute perfect person.
You're the alpha.
To have a conversation with the neighbors. And isn't it really your obligation to be available to have a conversation with the neighbors about values and prices and what's going on with the market? So what did I do to their mindset?
Yeah. Well, they were going A, you said, how about B? You changed their mindset and give them a different perspective. It's the arc of perspective. So you said a lot there, and I was writing down. So it's, what's the value of the service that you're really providing? What's the psychology of the prospect? What do they want to know? How are they feeling?
Yes.
Forget how you're feeling.
Yes.
Do people want to know if they just made money without doing anything? I would argue the answer is yes. Right? And then motivated research phase sellers want to know this information, and they will stay on the phone with you longer.
100%.
So the first part of the framework is getting your mindset to get aligned with the best possible prospect in that community that you're calling, marketing, emailing, yada, yada. What's the second part of the framework?
Second part of the framework is, and you nailed it with the research, understand the customer's journey.
Yep.
Where are they going to be at? And based upon where they're at, what do they want? What would be valuable to them? So if I'm a neighbor and I'm considering putting my home on the market in 90 days, you saying, hey, here's what's going on with the market. Do you have any questions about prices in the neighborhood or what's going on in the market? Yep. Most likely they're going to ask you more questions about value. Yep. So what can you now offer them? Hey, would you like me to do a little light comp for you? Would you like me to keep you up to date on what happened with the sale if it hasn't closed yet, which is great, right? And most of the time they're a yes.
Yeah.
Hey, we got 4 offers and we're over list price. Would you like me to follow up with you to let you know what it sells for? They're like, well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
Because the motivated side wants that.
Yeah.
So then now, if they're 90 days out, what do they want to know? They want to know things like, hey, what are 2 or 3 things that I can do now and between now and on the market that I can either improve prove the value of my home, right? Is there anything that I need to fix, change, or improve? So you want to offer some of those things or at least meet them where they're at. Okay, so let's keep moving from there and let's jump into skills. Okay, fair? So your mindset, their mindset, and the value of your service, now skills. So in the skills conversation, this is where, okay, if I'm talking to neighbors of my listing, should you be Patrick Ferry from Keller Williams Realty? No, I'm the local agent of the property that, just right down the street, Banana Street, right around the corner. If you can demonstrate that you're the local agent, there's something about the resistance goes down. Yeah. So I realized
Do you actually say that, or is it just
100%.
Like, hey, Patrick Ferry, local agent, just sold the house down the street?
Over on
But also
Jones.
your tone was very different.
Yeah.
Was that you flared up? Was that intentionally to show them, please don't be like, hello there, I'm calling today?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so. So the subtle skill for this is demonstrating that you are the local realtor.
Yeah.
And everybody is okay with the local realtor. They just don't want the AT&T, phone call from, the Philippines.
Yeah.
But when you're the local realtor, that's an important skill set. Okay. The second skill set in the intro of this call is to actually tell them what happened and to let them know clearly. Don't rush and be proud of what happened. And I found that if you have kind of pride in what you're saying to them and you feel good about what you're sharing, they'll listen. But if you're like nervous and you're like hurrying and you're, click.
First of all, it's just not attractive.
But that's a skill. That needs to be developed.
Yeah.
So there's a skill for this source that needs to be, just like you said with the expired.
Yeah.
If you can't build rapport with the expired, you ain't gonna get it.
Past client, sphere, it's like dating.
Yeah. It's
Right?
dating.
Anybody out there that's dated before knows what I'm talking about. Right? It's been a long time for me. I'm married 27 years, 29 years with my wife. Okay, demonstrating the local realtor is one thing. The second thing, though, you mentioned, is you got to get to the point fast. And I think what people struggle with is they don't know how to get to the point in a way that is enticing or interesting that causes somebody to go, huh? Tell me that. Like
the key, it's the number one. The first question you asked has to be very well crafted.
Right.
It has to be very conversational, and your ideal customer would want to discuss that.
Yeah.
And you have to set yourself up with that question confidently. So in this case, it is, hey, do you have any questions about values in the neighborhood or with what's going on with the market? That question will open up the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Next skill would be, once you open up the conversation, there's maybe 2 or 3 follow-up questions that you need to, develop, right? These are the basic follow-up questions, the same questions on every one of the scripts.
Yeah.
Next is really the close. So when we talk about the customer's journey, if they're 90 days out and you close, hey, would you like me to come over and show you what I could do to sell your home and I can get you top dollar fast? Would you like me to come over tonight?
Yeah.
The close is not appropriate for where the customer's at.
Yeah.
So the close actually needs to be very aligned with, hey, I'm going to be in the neighborhood maybe later on this week. Why don't we just get together? Let's talk a little bit about your property, what your guys' plans are, and let's just maybe talk about what we can do to help you increase the value of your home whenever it's appropriate. I'm going to be in the neighborhood anyways. Are you guys going to be around on Friday afternoon or Thursday afternoon? So the close needs to be appropriate for this lead source. I had a guy who was like closing so hard. He was getting the lead, but he was closing so hard with so much urgency. Friday at 4, Tuesday at 1, I'm closing for the appointment. Would you like me to come over? No. Close appropriately. So I found that with each lead source, there was an intro that was important. There was an opening question that was really important. There was basic questions we all need to learn. And there's a close that's critically that's aligned with where the customer's at. And when you align the value of the service to the close, you get incredibly good results.
So I'm just writing down your psychology, understanding their psychology, skills. Calm and confident is, I was listening to Chris Voss this morning, preparing for a little negotiation that I was involved in. So I was going back to my interview with Chris Voss to be reminded, put on your FM DJ voice and all that good stuff. Calm and confident, I would argue, is applicable to almost anything except for different personality types, right? Like if you have that high I, they may want a little more, not Monday, Tuesday at 4, but they're going to want a little more pizzazz, a little more flair because that's what fits into their DNA.
Yeah, 100%.
So
100%. That I would say that's a little bit more advanced. For now, we're brushing skills, and I will tell you.
Is it maybe just ask for the order like you don't need it? I'm trying to give them the right mindset for it because let's go. The framework, the skill has to be appropriate to the lead source. Yes.
If you get the expired to this point, you better close your butt off, and you better get over there that night
because they're gonna list with somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the
But that's understanding the buyer journey or the client psychology,
100%.
where they're at.
So it's really, you've got to learn the right appropriate close for the lead source.
Yep.
If you have a Zillow client on the phone, you better close for showing that appointment right away.
Yeah.
If you have a pay-per-click lead on the phone, you should be talking to them probably about,
Has
getting
anyone
together.
taken the time to show you
let's
ABC?
talk about
Yeah.
areas and price points
Yeah.
and locations. And that close should be a little bit more like, hey, you're around, let's get together, let's talk about these things, because they're way early in the journey.
Yeah.
So it's very appropriate to be, based upon the lead source, your close has to be dedicated to that. Okay. And they got to learn it. That's the problem.
I'm almost imagining like this framework with a top of funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Like this is like close.
Yeah.
This is like, has anyone taken the time?
Yeah.
And this is, how can I help? Do you have some questions?
Let's talk about
You know what I mean?
this.
Top of funnel is like, how can I help you? What's going on? Like
100%.
where, has anybody taken, okay, you guys are clearly starting to look for a house. Has anybody taken the time to show you this property or that community or this community and the difference between and non-negotiables and all that stuff, right? You should all listen to that other podcast you and I did versus that bot. I think that'd be an interesting way to look at it. Yes?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Okay. Skills is, let's move past that and let's get to the numbers.
Yeah.
This is where I think, for everybody gets confused and a lot of mistakes are made because they don't understand the numbers of the lead source.
Yes.
So simple things like how many calls would you have to make before you talk to an actual owner?
Yeah.
How many owners would you have to talk to before you got a lead versus got an opportunity for an appointment? Mm-hmm. How many of those appointments would you have to go on before you get a contract signed, and so on and so forth?
And are you saying, and I know the answer, but are you saying to someone that is maybe newer to the business that each one of those has a different set of numbers?
Completely different. Okay. So let's just use the simplest contrast right now, which is an expired phone call versus a for sale by owner phone call. Mm-hmm. You could literally call for an hour with an expired, and you can have a single line dial, or you can be calling like a madman, 2 phones, whatever you're doing. Yep. You might talk to about 4 to 5 actual owners and call 100 phone numbers.
Yep.
With the for sale by owner, I can call probably, if you call the first day, now again, right on the second day, the call ratio is going to drop because they've gotten 100 phones.
They got inundated.
But on day one, morning one, I can make 1 phone call and most likely they're going to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And because they advertised A, their phone number, and B, they're excited to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So there's a very different experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's move this forward. So if I get an expired appointment, I most likely, probably 80 to 75% of the time, I'm going to probably convert that expired if you can get the appointment. Mm-hmm. Now, with a FSBO, you're probably going to close maybe 15% to 25% if you're good.
Yeah.
So now if you didn't understand that going in, it's a completely different game.
It's an expectation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's talk about you taught me TAM.
Yeah.
Total addressable market. Okay. So now let's look at, the total addressable market. I remember when I did some research on for sale by owners in San Diego, there was 680 for sale by owners that posted on Zillow that year that I did the research. I had a VA do it, go back in through my CRM. Then I had him do the research, right? And I had, go into Zillow and look, did they list with an agent? Yep. And what percentage did? Yep. And then did they sell on their own? What percentage did? And then what happened with the rest? So I actually knew what the actual numbers were. And so I knew what my total addressable market was. So understanding the numbers, now I can kind of go, this is what it is. Yeah. Right? And now I can confidently move forward with that lead source. And so I think
not feel the rejection of one person said, no, who cares? Because you know what? Of the 680, 75 of them sold, 100 of them listed, and the balance are still for sale by owner, or they just flared out.
Yeah. And let's
as an example.
Let's talk about the underperforming agent. Yeah. Underperforming agent. So one of my clients, he was like, hey, we got him going on realtor.com leads. Yeah. And he was kind of like, these leads are terrible. I'm getting this, I'm getting that, I'm getting this, I'm getting that.
They all want to buy a Winnebago on off wheels, trailer park leads.
Stop. Yeah. Tell me the numbers. Well, no. Tell me the numbers. Yeah. No. How many did you get? Okay, well, let me look. I got this. How many of you closed? I closed 1. How much money did you make? Great. How much money did you spend? Great. Now, how many do you have in your pipeline? This. So we're right here. How many did they promise you for the contract? this. So you're right on track for converting 5%, which is pretty good. You're going to get probably a 9x return on your investment.
Yeah.
You're right on track.
But the expectation is every lead that they send me should be Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, golden lead. Everything should convert, instead of realizing what I've told people forever. You get 100 leads, you sell 3 people a house, 97 people you get to nurture. And everything in this business is about nurture.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? Creating trust, building value with people in the research phase of buying and selling, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Who cares?
Exactly.
Yes?
Exactly. Hey, Chet Holmes, the ultimate sales machine.
Legend.
3% of
Legend.
anyone is in the audience right now for any product and service.
Yep.
6% of any audience is in the market within the next 6 months.
Yep.
So there's 9% that's available within the next. But that means 90 of the leads
are
not.
And it's funny, going back through Chris Voss this morning, one of the questions I asked him at the sort of Q&A portion of it, where I'm like, hey, a bunch of people wanted me to ask you questions, Chris. And one of the questions was, how do we deal with like time wasters? And he said, here's the rule. 20% of people just want your information so they can go do it with somebody else.
Exactly.
He said, so the faster you can realize that, the faster you can ask the right question to not spend any time with them and move on. And now we're talking about like actual leads that they're actually engaged with.
Yeah.
Because I would argue, of the 100 leads from any source, you end up converting 3 or 5. You had meaningful conversations with probably 15 to 20.
Yeah.
And you resulted in closing 3 of them in whatever time period.
Yep.
Right? And the balance, they bought from somebody else. They decided not to do it. Something changed. They ghosted you and they listed with their friend. Like that stuff happens. Mm-hmm. So how does one get their head around this? Because even though your framework, we talked very tactically through four things, I now have to think about this for my sphere, for virtual open houses, for online leads that I'm buying. And if they just did that, right, for the underperforming agent, by the way, we're not saying that like in any way, shape, or form that you're doing bad. It's just that you realize your potential is so much greater, and it's just an easy way to describe it. Like your potential is so much greater. Are you saying they've got to go through and articulate each one of those?
As soon as possible. And they need to they need to give the information to their coach. Don't explain your opinion about the lead source.
Yeah.
Get the numbers and show them to your coach and let us see it so that we can understand that and help you to interpret it. And I think that is one of the most valuable things that we do in coaching.
I agree.
Give me the numbers. Mm-hmm. Wow, you're actually doing amazing and you did really good. Let's do this, and let's scale that up next year. This is going to be super exciting. And so this
I
numbers
just did
thing.
this with one of my clients who's up 68% year over year. And she's like, but you know what? Like, I just seem like I never have enough money. I'm like, let me just make it very simple. How many of your hours of power did you complete this year? She's like, like maybe 70. I'm like, okay, so 70 out of 220 days, you didn't call your past clients. You didn't call your sphere. Exactly. You just listed enough houses and got in the way enough. And she had a monster year, but we figured out that she left about $1.3 million in gross commission income on the table. And now she's doing it every single day. And you know who you are because you're listening to this right now. She's got to text me every single day for 90 straight days through the holidays.
Yes.
I'm like, through the holidays, I don't care. Right. And already she's getting it. So one thing for everybody listening, your psychology, understanding yours about the lead source. If you listen to what everybody else says about the lead source, you're going to be negatively impacted. 2 agents get Zillow leads. 1 kills it. 1 person doesn't. The psychology was the difference. Mm-hmm. The belief about the lead source is the difference. Some people say, these are unbelievable. Now, not everyone buys, but when they buy. This is awesome. And that person's like, oh, these people are hard to get a hold of. And right? It's a story. Then it's understanding the buyer journey. And I think that is grossly, how do I say it best? It's just not discussed enough.
No.
Right? It's not discussed enough. You and I have done a lot. Our coach has done a lot talking research phase, top of funnel versus middle of the funnel versus bottom of the funnel. But we have a tendency, everyone has a tendency just to speak to bottom of the funnel. Mm-hmm. Close. Buy now. And missing the fact that 95% of the people you're going to talk to are research phase. Mm-hmm. And if you play your cards right, meaning you're good to people and you follow up with people and you nurture people and you provide value, content, whatever it may be, you have an unlimited number of prospects in the future. Mm-hmm. Look at all of our clients with Boomtown that are literally doing 40, 50 transactions a year right now off leads that they paid for 6 years ago.
Yep.
Like we're seeing that every day. Then it's about skills. And I think we could talk for days just about this one. But again, I like the calm and confident, meeting the client where they are based on the buyer journey. Some you need to be aggressive, but most you don't, right? Just understanding the prospect. And then the last one is the numbers, which is really having a realistic expectation that I'm not going to call one and sell one.
Right.
I'm not going to knock on a door and get a listing. I might have to knock, and we're using that just as an example, make phone calls, whatever it may be, email. Send out 100 emails. Only 30%, if you're lucky, even open it. And if you get a 1% click through from your 30%, you're a rock star in email.
I just had a big conversation with one of my coaching clients about the email marketing just this week.
Yeah.
Right, Claire. Okay. So let's
Your
go.
clients
Next.
your clients are getting some shout outs.
She did
here.
awesome. That's what it was. It was amazing, actually. And so it was really exciting for that. Let's go to the next one. So understanding the numbers. No, there's kind of two more. Okay. Number one is schedule. What is the schedule that would allow you to spend enough time in this lead source to get it all done? You've got preparation, you've got research, you've got skill development, you've got hours of power time, you've got follow-up, you've got appointments. There's a lot more to mastery of each lead source than just kind of making your calls.
Yep.
And that's what happens is they go, oh, I got to go make my calls. They go in and they realize, oh, I didn't prepare my numbers and I didn't actually get into the right mindset. I didn't do a little bit of research. So they underestimate the amount of time it takes to actually really do well. So I would say you got to kind of map out the ideal schedule for this lead source. And so, also with like a just listed, just sold, like, well, when are the best 2 days, for you and then for them? When could you get the highest call to contact
and at
ratio?
what time?
Yeah, what time of the day?
Yep.
And first, I would say start with you.
Yep.
Right? Meaning, don't try and cram yourself. Don't put it in your schedule in the worst possible spot that you're never going to do, just because that's what everybody tells you what to do. Yeah. Find the spot that you'll actually do it. Because no matter what, there is no perfect time. Yep. There's just a different ratio of call to contact. That's it. So anyways, the ideal schedule is critical, and they really need to give enough time. Last piece to this puzzle. Actually, no, there's one more. Okay. There's two more. Tools, software, service providers. Tools, software, service providers. Okay. The number one mistake that I've made, every agent's made, is we buy the tool with the software company. We don't do the training. We don't create a good relationship with the person that sold it to us. We don't create a good relationship with their the lead trainer at the company. We don't find the top agent in Tom Ferry and go shadow them for a day with that tool. We literally buy these tools and we completely just like, oh, I didn't really like it.
It didn't work.
Yeah. Right. And so there's this relationship with the tool, the software, the company that you really need to establish, and you need to become a part of the community and really dig in, because they will be the ones that'll show you all the things you need to learn to be able to perform at a high level. And it's those that just buy and just kind of go, oh, I didn't really do the training. I didn't really like it. It just didn't really work for me, Tom. Like, no, sorry. So
it's different. It's exactly the same thing with get to know all the players in your office, get to know all the resources, same thing.
100%.
You have to become one with the community, the software, the solution, the community, the ecosystem, everything.
Totally. Last thing is
Are you sure this is the last thing?
Last thing is the financial goal.
Okay.
How much money are you going to make from this one lead source?
Yeah. I almost think they should start with that one.
I know you always do, and that's why. I like the framework.
That
we're there. Now that they understand the total addressable market, they understand this game. Set the goal. Right. Yes. So they should start with that, because that is where it all begins. Is I can make this much money from this lead source. Now it's time for me to go all in. Now I can do this for the next 12 months. And if you master it in the first year, what's going to be possible? Is it scalable in the second year? And what can you do long term? And and everybody I want consistency. Tom, how do I be consistent?
I get that question all the time.
Master a lead source. You'll have consistent income. Well, how do I have long-term financial success and security? Master one lead source and you'll have long-term security. See, that is where the game begins. and so create a financial goal, create a little, in the Tom Ferry business plan for your one lead source, put the number up there, put your plan up there, and then write the number at the top with a big marker and stick it up, in your office.
This source, 80,000. This source, 40,000. This source, 10,000. This source, 2 million.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's where, to me, this is where agents really need to kind of up their game.
Yeah. Right? You know what's great about this is everything you said. First of all, I'm reflecting back on, you said to me, and I don't know if it was on a podcast, but you're talking about your like epic failures with open houses until you realized. Yeah, totally. And I think some of the framework, like all the great lessons come from epic failure. And 100%. He was like, my psychology was off at open houses. Then I wasn't connecting with their psychology at open houses. And I'm like, you're onto something, keep going. Mm-hmm. So now you got this framework. So we got to be mindful of time, because you and I could talk for days and we have other things we got to do today. And my hope for my friends that are listening, you got a lot of value out of this conversation. Shout out to Patrick for the other podcast we did on buyer consultation. You should listen to it. And I don't know if we ever published the Yvonne Arnold virtual live buyer consultation, but we should. It was from Pivot. It was early in the pandemic. Let's close out with this. You're sitting down with a brand new agent and they're like, look, all this stuff's a little too high level. Just tell me what to do. You got 3, I got 3. What are the 3 most important things? Got to keep it simple and direct. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they're at the bottom. XY theory of management. Mm-hmm. They're like, I'm in the military. Tell me what I have to do. I don't want to die. So what do they have to do? What are 3 things? And then I'll do 3 things. Good. And we'll wrap it up.
Number 1 is they need to go through their phone and their social media, and they need to actually identify, do they own a home? Do I feel comfortable having a conversation with them about what their next step in their life is, and see if there's an opportunity there? Then you need to go through the phone and see, or in your social media and go, are they renting? And should I have a conversation with them about buying a house and booking a virtual coffee or inviting them to a beer or inviting them over for dinner and have a conversation with them? They have to do that as number 1. And now for those of you that have moved into a new marketplace, if you don't have the lead generation system in play, go interview 10 of the top teams and find the best leader that you really respect. And then they have a lead generation system that's super clear that you can go all in on and create a ton of income in the next 12 months and let them fund your ride, right? Which is critical.
100%.
Okay. And then of course, number 3, as you probably stated, is learn the market. Learn the market.
You took all 3 of mine. You're making this very challenging.
This Week in Housing show has been unbelievable, and that's going to be incredible, right? Then kind of learning the number, learning the product. If you were to get a job today as a pharmaceutical sales rep, or you were to get a job in the medical industry and they're going to pay you $125,000 base, you would spend 30 days learning everything about the product, all of the competition. Then you'd have to go learn all of the different hospitals, all of the players, all of the doctors, what they are, all the roles. You'd have to learn so much.
It's like being a professional football player. They say, here's the playbook, study and memorize it, and you might just be able to go play with us. It's the same thing.
Yes.
But not in real estate.
In real estate, it's like, hey, here's some scripts and go make some phone calls. And so that's why there's a lot of lack of confidence with good people. Good people are failing because they're not going and learning the product better than anyone else. And so those would be my 3. You got anything to add to that?
So number 3 for me, I would say to you as you're listening to this, don't be that agent who just scans the daily hot sheets. Be the agent that studies it inside and out, twice backwards. And I mean, like, literally, that means you open it up, you look inside the MLS and you're like, okay, here's the new listings. Okay, these were all in this area. Here's all the sales. These were all over here. Now, why is it these are coming out over here, but they're not coming out over here? Like, and asking, like, grabbing like a top agent in your office and going, what do you see here? What are the correlations that you're seeing? Why are condos sitting, like I have my hallucination, but you've been in the industry for 15 years. Why are they sitting? Why are SFRs, like single family residents, just blowing up and getting like bonkers offers? Like, help me understand. Then going back in time in the MLS, trying to have some statistical data points so you can speak intelligently about the market. I cannot underestimate it. Most people just scan the MLS.
Let me just translate that into very simple. There in Carlsbad, California, Southern California, people want to buy condos there. Now that I've been in all the condo complexes, I've studied all the comps because I've looked for quite a few buyers.
Yep.
I know exactly what you're going to get for 500,000.
Yep.
So if I get an internet lead and they're like, I'm looking at condos for 500,000, I can be like, here's what you're going to get. Here's what you're not going to get.
Yep.
And here's the type of condition you're going to experience at 500.
Yep.
Here's what you get at 450. Here's what you get at 550.
Yep.
So I could speak right away confident to the condo buyer
Yes.
in Carlsbad, and they have to get that.
Yes.
So as you said, it's not scan it. It's
No.
actually understand it from the consumer's perspective.
100%. So I would only add one thing on top, and it's actually in honor of one of my clients who I've worked with now for 18 years, Andy C., who, by the way, 18 years ago when he was a brand new agent, he and I sat down and I'm like, look, buddy, you want to be successful in real estate? I'm going to give it to you super straight. 3, 2, 1. And he talks about it all the time now. It's hysterical because we've known each other for so long. And just for context, in the year 2020, he and a small team did 300 transactions and generated $12 million in gross commission income. So from humble beginnings, he said, if I didn't do what you told me 18 years ago, there's no way I would be the player that I am today. I had to go through the battle-tested, mature me quickly approach that I gave him, which was 3, 2, 1. 3 hours a day of any form of marketing, any form of prospecting, individual videos, sending out emails, sending out letters, making phone calls. He says anything, just 3 hours every day of trying to shake the tree so somewhere an apple falls and you got an opportunity. That's it. 2 is get 2 appointments every day. 2 lousy appointments is better than no appointments. 2 appointments that say no to you, reject you, and hate you is better than just sitting at your house doing nothing. But that's not what's going to happen. You're going to get research phase buyers like, oh, your FICO score is 12. Let me see if I can help you. Let's figure out how to navigate that. He goes, if every day you put your intention on the one thing that moves the needle in this business, that is getting appointments, getting knee to knee, belly to belly, face to face, Zoom to Zoom, whatever it is, with someone that might be remotely interested in buying, selling, renting, investing, that is the goal. And then he said, number 1 was just trying to sign contract. He goes, you know how often I got a signed contract in my first year? I don't know, 11 times. You know what I mean? But every day the goal was 3, 2, 1, right? And what it really was I'm going to mature this kid very quickly, because anybody that spends 3 hours, and I want to be clear, I'm not saying cold call, because I get some people that are like, oh, your dad, not my dad, right? The last name Ferry, cold call, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, shut up. You could go do 3 hours of DMs on Instagram and just go, thinking about you, Brandon, we haven't talked in a while. What's shaking? I'm helping some people buy and sell real estate. Just had this interesting situation. Helped a client do this, blah, blah, blah. How you doing? What's going on? You could do that for 3 hours, and you're nurturing your database and you're creating trust and you're building relationships and you're going deeper. You could do that for 3 hours a day. So don't think cold call. Think your sphere first. All those people on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn that you are friends with, that you're not friends with, actually building a relationship and seeing what's going on. You do that, you're going to kill it. So that's all I got.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. So as we wrap this up, how long have we been going? About an hour and a half.
Yeah.
All right.
There might be some edits in this one.
Yes. Yeah. Well, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. So hey, episode 100 in the bag.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Brenda, thank you so much. Tristan, thank you so much. Tristan, by the way, bought a house, is now refied how many times? 3 times. 3 times. His wife, big shout out to Steph. Steph works for Loan Depot, and I'm like, dude, rates just dropped again. He's like, I know, I'm refining.
That's amazing.
Right? He's gonna become the official refi king.
Yeah.
Right? So listen, for all my friends out there, the whole intent behind this, and I know we bounce all over the place, is we want you to win. We want you to be successful. And you know what? What's beautiful about real estate and entrepreneurialism is it accepts everyone. Everybody's got a shot. And there are fundamental things that are just going to cause you to succeed faster, be more consistent, make more money than everybody else, because the failure rate is real and it's enormous, not just in entrepreneurship, but in real estate as well. Real estate, mortgage, insurance, you name it, becoming whatever you decide to do. So you got a lot of insight here. I recommend you go back through, you listen to it at 1.5 times the speed.
Yes.
You take lots of notes. Pat dropped a lot of nuggets, and then you go to work. So I'm wrapping it up. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll see you guys on the next podcast. Take care.